So the most important thing that you can do for your health is get your mindset back where it needs to be. So that's the thing. So what we talk about when we're talking about mindset, it's the thing that drives everything. If you're like, well, you should get on this particular diet. What keeps you going on that diet? Your mindset, your motivation, the way that you decide to do things. What keeps you going to the gym? Your mindset, your commitment, that type of thing. We do a lot of work on mindset. So, for instance, when people come in, we start talking about diet. One of the things I don't let people refer to is cheat day. Like, you don't get to talk about cheat day, not when you're working with me. The reason for that is that there is no instance in your mind where cheating is a positive function. If the other team cheats, if your significant other cheats, like, there is no positive function for cheating. So why would you tell yourself that you're going to cheat on your own diet? Why would you tell yourself you're going to cheat on your own goals? There's no possible way that cheating is beneficial. Now, the other side of that is that you've got to make a decision to do stuff. You've got to be like, okay, I'm going to make the decision. I'm going to do the things, and one of the things that I will take on me that I probably don't do well enough is scare people into making decisions. Maybe I should do that more. I guess we'll see. The reason I say is I had a guy come in April, I think it was. And I told him, I was like, hey, man, because we ran blood. And I was like, hey, man, you're diabetic. And he was like, oh, yeah, my A1C has been high. And, doctor said this and that. And I was like, this is something you should get on, like, quick. And he was like, all right. He's like, as soon as the school year gets back in after the summer, he's like, I'll get on it. So, like, a week ago, he calls the office and he's like, hey, I just went to my doctor and I've got significant kidney damage from diabetes. And he was like, and the doctor's telling me I got to get on all these drugs and we might have to be looking at dialysis in the next couple of years. And he was like, it's really bad. And he was like, I'm freaking out. And I was like, well, I told you, like, you had diabetes. Where do you think this goes? Guys, diabetes goes nowhere good. It's not like you're like, well, you have diabetes. You're like, oh, I'll be fine for the next 20 years. That's not how it happens. Well, I know lots of people who are fine. No one who has diabetes is fine. They might not have massive symptoms that requires them to have a kidney transplant or or dialysis, but at the same time, they're messed up. Quality of life is down. Your entire body is degrading. So it's not as easy as this, but dementia is basically type 3 diabetes. Like, if you got type 2 long enough, it's going to start damaging your brain. Whether or not you're fully diagnosed with dementia or not, it's going to start damaging your brain. Insulin resistance keeps your brain from communicating properly, flat out. So your brain will not work right when you have insulin resistance. So, none of your other body can deal with the amount of sugars that your body keeps in it either. Your kidneys get hammered. Your heart gets damaged. Most of the time, you mix this with sleep apnea. So now we have high sugars. We have low oxygen. We're going to have low testosterone. We're going to have dysregulated sleep. We're going to have decreased functionality at the brain. This is how we end up with cancer. This is how we end up with heart attacks and strokes. This is how we end up with, damage to the long-term function of your brain, energy, quality of life, joint pain. All of these things come from this insulin resistance that leads to being diagnosed as diabetes. So that's your big issue. Like, if you really are looking at it, you're like, oh yeah, doc said I was diabetic, but not to worry about it. There's lots of things that they can do to treat it. I'll just get on metformin and take that pill every day for a while, and then if it advances, we'll start taking insulin, and then I'll get an insulin pump. And yeah, great plan. Don't forget that in there, your quality of life goes to hell, your energy goes to hell, your sex drive, your erection functionality, like everything in your body literally starts breaking down because you have chemicals in the system. The system cannot function with them where they're at. There's no benefit. It's only going to get worse. So yeah, I mean, you can get toes and feet and stuff amputated, and you can survive, because you probably won't walk in a whole lot, right? Walking is not a big deal. You just get those toes and those feet amputated. No reason to work on your diet, no reason to try to fix it. And that's the way. It is 100% diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is 100% reversible in the vast majority of people. So, there's little things you got to take into account as you walk through it. That I see people missing all the time. You've got to look at. I would primarily start looking at the damage that surrounds diabetes. You're going to have sleep apnea issues. You're going to have arterial plaquing issues. You're going to have kidney damage issues. You're going to have hormonal issues. There's a lot of problems that are going to be in there that you're going to have to deal with that are secondary to the actual diabetes. So when they talk about diabetes is worth $120 billion a year to the medical system, which is, again, they won't fix it. It's all these other things as well. It's the amputations. It's the, all the CGMs they sell, all the, treatment plans they sell. It's all the, keep coming back. We're going to monitor this thing until you die from it because they won't fix it. Because, dude, once you get in the hospital with it, once you get cancer from it, once you get dementia from it, once you get the amount they make just goes through the roof. So why would they pull the fuel out of their own cash rocket? So, that's how the FDA, the CDC, and the NIH see this. And that's why they teach their doctors to treat it the way they do, to maintain it the way they do instead of fixing it. Now, I'll tell you, maintaining it's super easy from the doctor's standpoint. You come in, write you a script for metformin. When that doesn't work, we'll write you stronger metformin. When that doesn't work, we'll start putting maybe a little insulin in. When that doesn't work, we'll start doing insulin pump. And then you start cutting things off. Super easy from the doctor's perspective. Now, the more difficult way is when you take people in and you go, all right, I'm going to work with you on this. I'm going to teach you how to eat. I'm going to look at your, all the secondary things. We're going to look at your cardiovascular function. We're going to look at your hormones. We're going to look at your sleep. We're going to look at your exercise. We're going to look at your mental state. We're going to look at you from a holistic standpoint. And then I'm going to walk with you. I'm going to teach you how to do these things. And we're going to kind of keep you motivated until you get to the point where you can run these things for yourself. And that's what we do. So typically what we will end up doing is I'll spend 3 months with people and I'll be like, all right, here's the diet. Here's the exercise. Here's the hormones. Here's all the pieces of this. And as they start walking through it, we meet on a regular basis and I go, hey, I want more X, Y, Z. Or, hey, you were talking about this cheesecake the other day. You're talking about this cookie dough the other day I can have. You're talking about all this stuff. I really want X, Y, Z. All right, cool. We'll figure out how to make it. Like somebody asked us for biscuits and gravy the other day. So glad somebody asked us for biscuits and gravy. The biscuits and gravy we figured out how to make are amazing. Super glad. I'd never had, I was just like, this is not a thing I ate. And then we started making them. I'm like, this is amazing. So biscuits and gravy are now a thing I eat. So yeah, I love it when people ask us to find new foods because when we do, they're usually amazing. But it's all about the chemistry. And it's not, my part's not super difficult. Walking people through it is a lot of fun for us. Like I said, we find new things all the time. But it's one of those things that it's not just change your diet. There's a lot of other things. It's, like I said, if you've been diabetic for a while, you're going to have secondary and tertiary system damage that we're going to have to walk through and fix. I have never been able to get people's diabetes to fully get back where we want it to be without resetting a lot of other systems. Killing the parasites is critical. Like one of the big things people miss is sleep apnea and fixing that properly. Hormonal piece is a giant part of it. The amount of, minerals and stuff people need are huge. Not just, calcium, magnesium. Those are great. We got to get the magnesium up really high. But the other piece of that is, what about selenium? What about molybdenum? What about, copper? There's a lot of other ones that you've got to kind of, make sure you get in the right amounts. But this is one of those things that the chemistry is pretty clear on. And so walking people through this is not super difficult. So if you or somebody you love has diabetes and they're willing to do some work on it, this isn't one of those, take this pill 3 out of 7 days a week, and, it'll get there eventually. That's not how this works. There's actually work involved in this. But if people want to get healthy, they want to address this in a holistic fashion, and they want to, help change the chemistry that creates the diabetes, I'd love to walk them through it. Like I said, it is probably one of the things that I'm not doing enough, because I don't want to use fear as a tactic to quote unquote sell stuff. But guys, if your diabetes if you've had anything where you're showing diabetic function, if a medical doctor told you that you're looking like you're diabetic from A1C or from glucose levels, you've been diabetic a long time, or at least you've had insulin resistance a long time. It's a big, big, big deal. And I don't think people really kind of recognize by the time they're diagnosed diabetic, you've had that problem for a long time. And so it just going away isn't something that's going to happen. And it will never go away or get better if you go down the typical medical path for it, which is metformin and insulin. Once you start injecting insulin, your insulin resistance problems are through the roof. Because what happens, like, think about the insulin deal. Like, your body's producing as much insulin as it possibly can, and it's not getting the job done. So you're like, cool, I'll throw even more insulin on my insulin resistance problems and make my body even more resistant to the hormone insulin. Great plan. That's definitely not going to cause problems down the road, especially with your brain. Since, again, your brain uses insulin to communicate, and if you're insulin resistant, it can't really use that insulin to communicate very well because it doesn't hear its own insulin that's being produced. So, yeah, not a great option to start injecting insulin unless you absolutely have to. Type 1 is a little bit different story. There are a whole lot of people who are diagnosed type 1 who can manage their symptoms with manage their issues with just diet. And I know people have been lied to and told that's not true, but here's the other thing. Most of these medical doctors are also under the impression that calories are what the body runs on. Anyone who talks to you about calorie deficits or make sure you get your calories from XYZ or puts calories in your diet at all has absolutely zero understanding of metabolic biochemistry. They will not be able to help you with diabetes. They will not be able to help you with dementia. They will not be able to help you with anything that is biochemically related. Because if you believe that calories somehow play into the way the body works, you have no idea how the body works. This is why I'm such a big stickler for telling people that calories don't matter. The caloric function doesn't exist. The reason that they push it is to keep you from figuring out how to fix diabetes. Because the chemical path, once you figure out how the body actually produces energy and actually works, the chemical path to fixing diabetes is extremely apparent. It's like, oh, this is how you fix it. It's super easy. When you look at some of these other things like dementia, it's like, oh, here's the chemical path out. That's why they keep telling you guys about calories, is because it's legitimately, if they taught metabolic hormone function, they taught the chemical version of how your body produces energy, especially from food, very, very, very few people would be diabetic. And that 120 billion a year would go to, I don't know, 3 or 4 billion a year. They're not going to allow that. That's why they don't teach it in schools. That's why I don't teach you. That's why they don't teach their doctors how to fix it. Because if you taught medical doctors how to fix it, a lot of them would fix it. A lot of them would. This is not a doctor issue. This is a system problem. So, but anyway, if you guys have diabetes, if you don't want to have diabetes anymore, give the office a call. We'll walk you through it. It's a process, but if you'll get through it, you'll be wildly healthier. You'll most likely feel better and look better as well. So, because you're going to get your body chemistry back where it needs to be. So, if you want to get your body chemistry back where it needs to be, thus eliminating the root cause of a lot of disease, including diabetes, give us a call. We'll walk you through it. Anyway, if you don't do something about your diabetes, don't just let it sit there. I don't know why you'd want to maintain a problem, let it grow. But that's your path, that's the medical option. But give us somebody who knows how to do this. So you guys have a fabulous day. Thanks for your time. Bye.